Welcome to the Beyond the Leash podcast, the show where we dive into the world of service dogs and beyond the leash, unleashing the truth, breaking down barriers, and sharing these incredible stories behind the harnesses. I am your host, service dog educator.
I am Bumblebee.
And I'm Kaiten.
Whether you're a handler or an ally or just curious, you're in the right place. Get ready to learn, laugh, and be inspired because life gets better with a working dog by your side. Let's get this started. Welcome to our Halloween special, guys. And I hope everyone's having a really, really good night. Bubble, I'm gonna have you read out the topics because I can't fucking see them.
You got it. Alrighty, so tonight's topics, we have the trifecta of spooky, scary things. So, first of all, we have the Fur Nights and Frights, how service dog handlers Halloween, talking about how costumes, crowds, and decorations can affect service dogs and how and what handlers do to keep them calm and safe. Up next is Trick or Treat with a task, Halloween, safety for her service dogs. The do's and don'ts when taking your service dog out during trick or treating or Halloween events. And then the last one, which is personally my favorite one, Spirit Halloween is not pet friendly. Bringing your pets is not being pet friendly or not. It's not for regular pets or for exotic animals.
Yeah, so we're going to get into these topics today, guys, for the Halloween edition of our podcast. And those of you who are just tuning in, that are listening in, first of all, I'm going to, again, apologize for my voice. I'm currently sick, coming down with something, so I'm not going to be talking as much into this episode because, like I said, I'm really sick, and I don't want to make this really bad. So I'm going to leave these to you guys. It's the season of sickness, guys.
It's the plague.
My kids got me sick. My husband got me sick. We're sick over here at my household. So let's Bubble, if you want to take the first topic, let's read it out and let's discuss.
Sure thing. All right, so we're gonna start off with Fur Nights and Frights on how service dogs handle Halloween. So I'll say this. I'll start this off. I feel it's okay to have your dog kind of adjusted to some level of Halloween, but, and this is just my opinion, I don't think taking your dogs out trick-or-treating with you is advisable, if only just because they don't understand the tricks, and they don't understand that the treats are not meant for them. Kaiten, your thoughts?
I actually have taken my own service dog out for trick-or-treating once before. And I personally have never run into issues while trick-or-treating, but I do understand where it could cause issues, if that makes sense.
Yeah, with like scare actors and whatnot, and in my old neighborhood,
just do door-to-door trick-or-treating, so there's not really many scariness that we go through with that.
See, in my old neighborhood where I used to live, there was a guy who used to sit on the front porch with a chainsaw that had no blade on it. But he used to run after kids. You would grab your candy, he would go, "Ruh!" and then he'd chase after you with the chainsaw. Yeah, sure, he probably wouldn't do that to a dog, but, you never know. There are some weird people out there that will do that.
I personally have never experienced anything like that while trick-or-treating.
Must just be a me thing then. Rural Texas.
That sounds so fun, though.
Oh, it was.
If I could
It
run
was
like that. I would totally love that. I'm not even gonna lie.
Oh, it was absolutely a blast. Another one was like the scare maze that we used to have. At one point they actually did stop allowing people with service animals into the maze because, again, the scare actors and whatnot. And it wasn't necessarily because a dog bit somebody. It was because simply just of safety. Because, again, if you're going to be bringing a service dog into the maze, maybe you just shouldn't go into the maze, was their whole thing for a little while. Again, because, it can cause a heart issue, if you get scared hard enough.
Oh, 100%. Another reason would be, it can cause your dog to wash out of service work.
Yeah, that too.
Like that. make them so fearful of people.
Yeah, I would highly agree. I'm of the firm belief that if you're purposefully scaring your dog, and not necessarily like desensitizing way, like if you're just purposefully doing it to quote unquote make your dog desensitized to it, that's not really training. That's just scaring the bejeebus out of your dog. And that doesn't make you a very good owner.
Exactly. And that's why, like, a lot of dogs are scared of things like, we'll say, fireworks and things like that.
Yeah, there's no real...
Because they're not desensitizing the dogs to it. They're just...
Not in the correct way.
Exactly. You know what I mean?
They'll do what's called flooding. And unfortunately, flooding can be done correctly, but what people see as flooding is just, stick dog in bad situation, dog will figure it out eventually.
That's terrible.
And that's where we get into the problems of,
the proper way to flood would be like, say your dog doesn't want to go swimming and you want the dog to learn how to do dog diving. First you're going to do is have your dog walk into the water.
See, I wouldn't even consider that flooding.
Up to the top of their paws.
See, Kaiten, you and I, we're both trainers. I wouldn't even consider that flooding. That's just step-by-step process. That's, doing gradual incrementation. That's not flooding. Yeah. I would, you're still offering positive reinforcement.
Teaching a dog how to do public access, that technically is flooding.
That could be considered flooding, but again, there's a sort of step ladder of ways to do it. There's step 1, 2, and then 3. Step 1 is standing outside and sitting in your car. Step 2, standing by the front door. Step 3, going inside for a few minutes. And some dogs are more brave than others. And of course, there's you still have to condition, and stuff like that. And you still have to offer some positive reinforcement, and embrace that this dog is going to be a little bit scared sometimes. And just working through it. I wouldn't consider that flooding, and especially whenever it comes to like scary stuff, there's no real proper way in my mind to really get dogs used to scare actors. Like, unless you're physically like grabbing these people and sitting them down for 20 minutes, which isn't feasible by any means.
These people are paid to scare.
Yeah, they're paid to scare people. And so, unfortunately, even
train your dog.
Yeah, even with like, going to Spirit Halloween and introducing your dog to all the masks and whatnot, and you can try to do, some level of that and desensitize. The dog's still not going to understand. But, I do feel like a lot of things that you can do to keep your dog safe is, one...
I fixed it!
You fixed it what?
I don't have the thing up anymore. I fixed it.
Congratulations. But I feel like what a lot of handlers can do during the Halloween season, getting your dog used to pumpkins, getting your dog used to seeing, the spider web on the bushes, getting the dog used to seeing the 6-foot tall skeleton or the 20-foot tall skeletons in your front yard, things that aren't going to necessarily jump out at them. I feel like that's a feasible thing to do because again, I see a lot of times in my area that people will walk their dogs past these 20-foot skeletons and these dogs will be freaking out over it. It's like, no, just approach very slowly. Offer treats, offer praise, the usual step-by-step process.
But like you would with like a reactive dog, you start when they're before they hit that threshold.
Exactly. And then if they do hit that threshold, you back off. You simply just walk backwards. You go, okay, you've hit your limit, let's walk off. But that's one thing. Another thing is just not getting your dog involved. It's kind of like us as humans. Some of us humans love Halloween, others don't. I saw a video the other day of a teenager who was at a scare park and he was wearing one of the badges that said, don't scare me. I'm terrified. And, it's like you don't have to participate if you don't feel comfortable participating. And, especially whenever it comes to animals, animals can't really give their consent. So, if your dog is uncomfortable, don't force them into something that they're not comfortable with. It's the same thing at a grocery store. If your dog's not comfortable, don't go.
And what I will say really quick is that it's not okay for you to want to scare the crap out of your dog on Halloween either and try to call it training.
Agreed.
And I'm not even talking about going into spirit in general. I'm just talking about you getting a mask or you getting an animatronic or you doing any of that and
Yeah.
wanting to scare the crap out of your dog in general. Or just going out on Halloween with no training whatsoever and going up to animatronics thinking it's okay.
Yeah, that can result in somebody getting bit real fast.
If it has teeth, it can bite.
Even if it doesn't have teeth, it will try to bite.
Well, because
if it has a mouth,
understand is that they can wash their service dog by doing that shit.
Not just their service dog, just dogs in general. Like you can
we're
permanently
on the service
scar.
dog aspect of it. We're
I know,
talking
but the
about-
service, but we're talking about in general pets and service animals. You can physically scar your dog for life. And service dog or not, it'll still leave an impact.
I just hate seeing the videos of people bringing their dogs out and scaring the crap out of them with animatronics, or like the service dog handlers that are like, "Well, I got denied access into a haunted house," and I'm not naming anyone specifically. Like I've had people ask me questions about this. But I've seen all videos on TikTok about handlers being upset that they were denied access or even just taking their dogs in there in general and not understanding why the dog was fearful afterwards and didn't the haunted house.
Yeah, and again, that goes into the mentality of dogs don't understand or have the core processing power like our brains do to understand that this is supposed to be in fun, that these people are not trying to harm you. I will agree, I do find it very kind of selfish almost, for handlers to be taking their dogs to haunted houses that are, not open to children. It's like what do you expect to happen? You really shouldn't be bringing any animal in there to begin with.
It's the whole thing of, oh no, I brought my dog into this terrifying situation for them where they couldn't get away, and now my dog's fearful of people. Well, I wonder how that happened.
I mean, it's one thing to bring them into a grocery store and have a bad experience. It's another thing to be bringing them into a space that is meant for something like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So let's, educator, you got anything else you want to say on that?
No, we can move on to the second topic, and I can read it out. The trick or treat with a task. Halloween safety for service dogs. Cover the do's and don'ts when taking your service dog out during a trick or treat or a Halloween event. So, in this topic, we're just going to be talking about how, the do's and don'ts when it comes to taking your dog out for trick or treating with your family or just you yourself, and how to handle Halloween events as well, and the do's and don'ts of that. So, Bubble, if you want to start us off.
You got it. Do's. I'll start with those. Do make sure that your dog is, fully wanting to work that night. Make sure, that their costume's not too tight. Make sure that you bring water. Make sure that you bring lots of treats and lots of snacks. Make sure that your dog is well taken care of. That's pretty basic stuff. Poop bags, plenty of those. Wet wipes, you never know. I would also recommend boots. I would recommend getting a pair of dog shoes. Concrete can be rough on humans, so make sure that even yourself that you're wearing the correct kind of stuff. And again, this is going to go into the don'ts. Don't purposefully step on the animatronic buttons with your service dog. It's one thing if it's an accident, it's another thing if it's on purpose.
Well, what I will say to this is because most of the people who are having the service dogs are adults, right? You less here's what I'm going to say. As a service dog handler and a parent and with a child with the service dog, while his service dog doesn't go out into like public events or anything else like that, but with trick or treating, like the dog could go with because it's an outdoor event. Like the dog, it's pet friendly, right?
Yeah.
Always have, because you always have to have a co-handler anyways. You know, you should always have a co-handler. Always have somebody with you to watch the dog or have your dog in a downstay away from the trick-or-treating. Especially, you know, if you have older kids, they should be walking up and back. You know, you don't have to go with them unless they're like really young kids. And with that being said is like keeping the dog away because the dog shouldn't go up there because there's other dogs involved most of the time. Their owners are having their dogs out. There's, you know, the animatronics, there's scary music, there's flashing lights, there's all this kind of stuff that goes on. You know, your dog doesn't need to go into that at all.
I'll agree. And, you know, making sure that, again, your dog is a willing participant. You know, if you've noticed that your dog is, you know, not comfortable around, you know, the Halloween decorations in your own neighborhood, maybe don't bring your dog. You know, it's okay to, you know, not necessarily rely heavily on your service dog. You know, I like to say this a lot. You shouldn't be dependent on your dog at all times because, again, they're an animal and animals can have problems. You know, have a backup plan, have, you know, an alternative, have a plan B. You know, if plan A fails, have plan B. Plan B fails, have plan C. Kaiten, you want to put in your 2 cents?
I would say just make sure that you're also keeping. I would think a shorter leash.
Yeah, I would think
Because there's gonna be other people with their animals. There's gonna be children running everywhere. And also on Halloween, you're more likely to have your service dog get pet than any other day of the year.
Oh, that's another thing. Yeah. If you're not comfortable with people coming up to you normally, definitely Halloween's definitely going to be an attractor, especially if you dress your dog up really cute. You know, they're probably not even going to see the harness that says service dog on it.
I mean, I'll put my dog in a dress for Halloween. I'll dress my dog up as a cow. My dog's a cattle dog. I dress her up as a cow.
Ace is currently dressed up as a giraffe.
I love that for you.
He's very cute right now, and Abby's dressed up as a pumpkin. So let's go on to the don'ts. Don't give your dog chocolate. Just straight off the bat, don't give your dog chocolate.
Don't give any of the candy.
Yeah, no candy for puppies. No candies for puppies. Now if they give you dog treats, of course, you know your dog better than anybody. If your dog has an allergy, it's always okay to say no. You know, I carry
from people. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah. I mean, don't, what else? I would say, you know, make sure that your dog is visible. So, you know, don't dress your dog in like excessively dark, you know, clothes, you know, have something on them that reflects in the dark. You know, if you would do it for a child, you would do it for your dog. You know, make sure your dog is visible. Either there's going to be an LED collar or an LED tag or a reflective vest or a collar or something, you know, that some people are going to be able to see, or heck, even carrying a flashlight with you. Don't let your dog go wild. Don't, if your dog is showing signs that they're uncomfortable, listen to them. Don't ignore them. If you need to take the dog home, take the dog home.
The dog can sit in the car for 2 minutes while you go trick-or-treating at a house.
See, I go walking. So, okay. You know, if your dog, you know, is upset, you know, just take them home. You know, you can always get those steps in. It's okay. Just make sure that you're listening to your dog.
100%. If your dog is showing signs that they're uncomfortable, it is okay to take them home. It's not a big deal.
It's
I mean,
okay to also
they're
just leave them
dogs.
at
At the
home.
end of the day, not every single one of them is going to be 100% bomb proof.
It's okay just to leave them at home, period.
100%.
I'm a big
It's
proponent.
probably safer for them to stay at home.
I would agree. I would totally agree because where in my area a few years back there was somebody that was driving erratically down the streets during Halloween, and he almost hit a few kids. Because they were dressed in darker costumes and he just didn't see them. Imagine what would happen if a dog had been out there. But those are kind of like the do's and the don'ts.
If your dog is reactive, do not let them out on Halloween.
Yes. Do not let your reactive dogs out on Halloween, please. Please, please, please.
That's just going to make the reactivity worse. It's going to stress people out and cause possible issues for you and your dog.
It's going to even compound the issues with your dog. It's going to give them the validation that, yeah, I should probably be biting things. Like, no, just don't take your reactive dogs out, especially during Halloween when you know things are going to be weird, and especially because kids just kind of the boundaries between animal and human kind of goes, oh, so it is just, I don't recommend bringing out reactive dogs, not even for socialization. Don't do it. Just one day. We want to move on to the next topic.
Yeah, that's fine. We're at 9:03 right now, so all I'm gonna say is that are we gonna do a shorter
Yeah,
podcast
we can
this
do a
week?
shorter podcast.
I don't care. I'm just chilling, so.
We can do a shorter one just for the sake of the spooky season.
Okay.
All right. So the
So,
last one,
I was gonna say, am I going or you?
I can do it if you want me to.
I haven't really talked much, so I'll say it.
You got it.
Spirit Halloween, not bring not being pet friendly. It is not okay for your regular pet, and nor your exotic pet too. What we're gonna Sorry, like I said, I'm
No,
sick.
you're good. You're good. So
Basically, this topic, what we're going to talk about is how Spirit Halloween is not pet friendly, and like whether it comes to your normal, regular, everyday pet to your exotic pets, which we'll get into that a little bit. They don't belong in there, and they shouldn't be in there. So we're going to get into that a little bit.
yeah, so Spirit Halloween has said multiple times on their Facebook, on their Instagram, on their now formerly known as X page, they have said multiple times that they are not pet friendly, and that does not matter what store you go to. Corporate policy is corporate policy. It's the same thing as Walmart. Walmart's not pet friendly. It doesn't matter if the manager lets you in. It's still not pet friendly. It's still not okay. Even though Spirit Halloween doesn't sell food per se, they have scary things in there. They have animatronics. They have moving parts. There's a lot of people in there. It can get overwhelming. I only go into Spirit Halloween for maybe a couple of minutes and I get overwhelmed myself. And that's me as a human. And now to explain the reason why we're bringing in exotic animals. This week in Plano, Texas, there was a lady who brought a spider monkey into a Spirit Halloween, and she was trying to train it, albeit again, not the best place nor time to do it. Buy your own animatronics, do it yourself in your house, not at a Spirit Halloween. But she scared the monkey, and it decided to run up into the rafters and was loose inside the store, causing a bit of mayhem, mischief, and chaos, and throwing things and knocking things off shelves. It didn't necessarily hurt anybody or damage anything, but it could have landed with somebody being bit. And because monkeys have zoonotic diseases that are transferable to humans, even with vaccinations, uh, even species to species,
He
you
also
can
didn't
get
have a leash
hurt.
on the
Didn't
monkey.
have a leash on it. Thankfully, it was wearing a diaper, so it didn't pull a Mr. Binks. If you know what I'm talking about the Brendan Fraser Mr. Binks incident where he would run up into the rafters and throw poop at people. Um, yeah, so it on top of that, like, it could have ended so much worse. Thankfully, the lady was able to coax, the monkey down from the rafters with, treats, and eventually, it calmed down and they left. I personally, living in this area and knowing the exact location that they were talking about, this could have been so much worse.
And
There are a lot of small children.
what I will say really quick is not only is it completely idiotic for you to bring a monkey into a situation like that. First of all, you don't have a leash on it. Like that's even service dogs have to wear a leash unless the
Mm,
task or the disability interferes with it.
thank you for correcting that. I was about to say, I
Well,
mean,
no,
but
because they
even
do. They do unless the task or the disability interferes with it.
and
And
usually, in most states, e-collars count as leashes.
yeah.
So, I mean, again, with it being a
I've been
monkey,
attacked by a monkey before.
so have I. There's a lot of people in Texas that own monkeys, for surprisingly. It's
Okay? Seeing a monkey in public without a leash is terrifying.
Oh, it's absolutely terrifying. I mean, I, very vividly remember when I was a kid growing up. I don't even remember where I was, but I was somewhere in Texas, and this guy walked in with a chimpanzee. Like, this ape, almost as tall as I was just chilling and walking around. And it's like, does no one remember the phone call, 911 call from a few years back about the chimpanzee and that poor woman that he basically consumed? It's like, it astounds me at how many people, bring these animals that just don't belong there. Maybe it's just me, that because, I live in Texas, and Kaiten, you've lived in Texas. I've seen like raccoons, I've seen opossums, I've seen armadillos, monkeys,
I sent you a
lizards.
photo not too long ago of someone who had a marmoset in Walmart.
I know, like, it astounds me that these people are just like, yeah, this is my exotic pet, and I'm gonna bring it into Walmart. And it's like, it's not cool. Like, yeah, normally I would ush and gush over seeing an opossum in person, or a raccoon in person, but like, it's terrifying in a Walmart. it's like, oh, you're one of those pet owners. You know, I can't. Being a responsible pet owner myself, I've owned everything from earthworms to I've taken care of a giraffe for longer than 6 months at some point in my lifetime. I would never consider, you know, bringing an animal, other than a dog or a miniature horse that has been task trained, into a situation like that. Rabbits have heart problems. Snakes can freak themselves out to the point where they will just straight up unalive. Lizards will do the same thing. If their body deregulates, they can have health issues. Yeah, lizards will have health issues. And again, the zoonotic diseases. A lot of people don't recognize that animals carry diseases. Whether that be, Lyme disease, whether that be E. coli, or, even, God, what is it? I forget what it is. I had it when I was a kid. You would think I'd remember. Um, botulism, anything. They carry a lot of stuff. Rabies, half the time, raccoons, yeah, you can vaccinate for rabies, but that doesn't mean that they're still not going to have it.
it's been said by the FDA themselves that the rabies vaccine only works on domestic animals.
Yeah, it's quite terrifying, and it's like, it makes me question the sanity of some people because it's like a dog I can understand, a miniature horse I can understand, but a lizard, a snake, a mouse, a rat, a rabbit, a raccoon, a possum, an alligator, it doesn't matter the animal. Like I genuinely don't understand the thought process behind some people's thoughts, of, oh look, I have this exotic animal, I'm gonna take it into spirit Halloween and hope it doesn't have a problem. It's like that miniature horse
Without a
that we covered.
leash.
What?
Without a leash. I'm gonna take my animal that's an exotic
See,
animal into Spirit Halloween without a leash, without any training, and scare the crap out of it and expect it not to do what it's supposed to do.
I would agree. And not expecting it to be an animal, and do what animals do, panic. It genuinely astounds me. Like,
I also want to bring up at the fact of what I had to deal with at the beginning of the month that I think we went over in
mini horse.
podcast or even the main channel or something like that, the main live, which is the therapy horse going into
Yes.
spirit. And I calmly and politely was trying to educate this individual and say like, hey, while your animal is somewhat trained, it still doesn't belong into spirit because it is only for service animals. And they proceeded to, say like, oh, they don't care. And I
They
was
let
like,
us
well,
in.
let us in. It is up to the store, it's not like a policy. And I was like, no, it actually is a policy, and you're breaking federal law, and you're making this like harder on individuals like me or anyone else that has a service dog, and it's not okay.
Or
They
even a
proceeded to
real,
block
or
me.
even like a real service horse.
Right. They proceeded to block me, of course, and, not want to get educated. And then I think they ended up taking their video down,
They
honestly.
did. I check in on them on occasion. They did end up taking the video down because they, as soon as we brought it to light, the service dog community does what the service dog community does best.
Right.
Um, and that's kind of the toxic mentality of just like, well, I mean, the service animal community, if you're doing something wrong, they're gonna call you out for it.
Exactly.
But
And I made a video about it on my main channel and talking more involved
yeah.
about it and everything.
And to
But
give context, this just for those who don't know or are unaware, um, the therapy mini horse was brought into Spirit Halloween. It was put in front of several animatronics that are like the jump scare kind, not the kind that just shake their arms, or go rah 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 rah, and don't really do anything. It was the kind that jumps out at you, and the horse spooked and started pulling back. um I maybe this is just me being raised around horses, but even miniature horses can like break your leg. It's not fun. I've seen it happen a couple of times. I've seen it happen to dogs, I've seen it happen to cats, I've seen it happen to a 5-year-old. Like, you can get seriously hurt from miniature horses. People don't realize how strong miniature horses actually can be. um Nor the other animals that I mentioned, like the raccoons, the possums, the alligators. People don't realize how strong these animals can lash out, and, with what ferocity they can lash out at. I remember, seeing somebody getting torn to shreds by a raccoon, and that's not talking about the Guardians of the Galaxy movie with Rocket Raccoon, but that is a pretty good description of how raccoons will actually attack you. Is there's a reason why they have claws and they have teeth. They will rip you to shreds.
100%. And it's just, it's not humane to.
It's really not. And I don't, I find it a little bit abusive whenever people bring out non-trained animals into spaces that they just don't belong in. Again, rabbits have weak hearts. I see them all the time out here. It's like you shouldn't be bringing your rabbit in here because what happens if a dog gets a hold of it? Bye bye, rabbit. You know,
On top of that, rabbits are so easy to have a heart attack and pass.
yeah,
You know
they're
how
not
easy
hardy.
that is to happen to a rabbit? You can go boom at a rabbit and it can
Flop
pass
over.
right
It will
there.
flop over. Um, and
And I'm not even kidding about that. It's that easy to hurt a rabbit that bad.
and not only that, but rabbits also have very fragile bones. You drop a rabbit, it's potentially harmed.
100%. And also, on another note, horses are prey animals on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
Horses get scared of bags, of like
Horses get
literal trash bags.
I remember when I was training horses and I opened up a soda can. This horse broke a 2x4 because it got so scared.
You see the videos on Disney where they have like those like Clydesdale horses or any type of horses, and literally a horse got spooked by a balloon.
Yeah, they can do that. And again, miniature horses are still horses. They may not be 16 hands high, they may not be thousands of pounds, but they can still put the hurt on you. I'll say this: I've been kicked by cows, I've been kicked by regular sized horses. Mini horses hurt.
A kick from a miniature horse can still harm you and even potentially unalive you.
Yeah, if they kick you in the head, it's not great.
You can go bye-bye that quick.
You can go bye-bye. They kick with all the fury that God gave them. Listen, if they wanted them to be the bigger person, they would have made them taller than 3 hands.
Is there anything else you guys want to add though before we end the podcast for today though?
I don't really have
Stay
anything.
safe.
Stay safe. Go trick-or-treating. Have fun. Remember, be nice to each other.
We're all people.
We're all people. Up next is, I guess, Thanksgiving. Do you want to do the outro?
Yep, that's what I'm doing right now.
You got it.
All right. So that's it for today's episode of Beyond the Leash podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us and learning more about the amazing world of service dogs. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you follow, share, leave a quick comment. It really helps us to reach more dog lovers like you. Until next time, stay positive, keep those tails wagging, and give your pup an extra treat from us. So thank you guys for listening into this podcast, the Halloween edition of Beyond the Leash. Make sure you guys follow all the social medias as well. You can follow me at Service Dog Educator on TikTok. And then, of course, follow the podcast on Facebook of Beyond the Leash Podcast. It's also on Instagram, Beyond the Leash Podcast as well. And then we do have TikTok as well. Usually it's up here, but it's not. But it's Beyond the Leash as well. All of that is linked in my bio. Go ahead and follow that. Follow the YouTube channel, Beyond the Leash. Follow the Spotify. Wherever you stream your podcast, go and follow those so you guys can listen in to episodes every week that we post. Bubble, do you have any socials you want to tag?
Other than 1-800-GOT-WASPs on TikTok, and of course the Beyond the Leash podcast on YouTube and Spotify and Instagram, not really.
Kated, you got any you want to send out?
Aiton_K.9 on here on TikTok, and that's about it for me.
All right, guys. I hope you guys be safe on Halloween. Have fun trick-or-treating, especially if you have younger kids. Even so more if you have kids that are special needs or on the spectrum or that have any sort of disability whatsoever. They deserve it just as much as anybody else out there does. And I hope everyone stays safe, keep those dogs safe, and we'll see you all very, very soon with another podcast. Good night, everybody.
Happy Halloween.
Woo!
Woo.